Hello, it is now 3 p.m. local times right here in Hanoi, and you are tuning in to another live edition of VTV News. Let's now get started with the headlines we have for you. National Assembly approves law on public investment. "20 years of assistance for Vietnam from the French agencies for development in review." And overseas Vietnamese journalist covers EC's incident. Now, in the first news today, this morning, the National Assembly approved the law on public investment with 88% of the deputies in favor. The law features 108 articles that cover regulations on state management of public investment, the rights and obligations of parties involved, and responsibility to prevent inefficient investment in line with the country's socio-economic development plans.
The cultural house in Nghĩa Minh Commune, Nam Định Province, is funded by the state budget. Following an unanimous decision amongst locals, the construction project is also under the management of the local community.
It's a very transparent system. The organizing committee has clearly walked us through the construction process, so we are all in favor.
Empowering the community will help to increase the efficiency of these projects and promote the role of community supervision. As a result, more projects are being planned in the area. This should mean corruption and other shortcomings in current investment are gradually eliminated.
We look forward to enforcing the law as the quality of projects funded by the state budget is restricted. It's true that the state budget is often wasted, so stricter regulations are needed. This law clearly stipulates the responsibilities of decision makers. Transparency in public investment projects still exists. From my perspective, the law removes these problems. The law provides a legal basis for public supervision of constructions funded by their money. To avoid corruption in the public sector, we need to carry out planning, decision-making and distribution of public resources on a medium-term basis instead of a short term.
Effective use of state budget and other public sector resources has a major impact on social development, so the law on public investment provides a legal basis for investment management and paves the way for achieving further socio-economic goals. The law on public investment will come into effect on January the 1st next year.
Now, earlier on Tuesday, the Vietnamese National Assembly discussed the revised enterprise laws aiming to create a level playing field for all types of businesses. Many of the deputies said that regulations on business setups should conform to international practice, as from now on, fields of business operation is no longer required to be spelled out on licensing papers. The revised law will allow businesses to take part in areas not prohibited by law, and that foreign investors would be granted an investment certificate before they establish a business. Many deputies agree that the right to free business is an important right stipulated in the Constitution, and the revised enterprise law aims to institutionalize this right. As part of his official visit to Vietnam, Dutch Prime Minister Mark Rutte visited the port city of Hải Phòng, where he attended a groundbreaking ceremony to construct a depot by Rotterdam-based warehousing company C. Steinweit and visited the Damen Songcam shipyard company. More in the following.
The Dutch Prime Minister expressed his confidence in the mutually beneficial relationship between the Netherlands and Vietnam. He affirmed that the shipbuilding joint venture is expected to achieve good results thanks to the experience of both sides. Later, Prime Minister Rutte and his delegation attended the groundbreaking ceremony for the Rotterdam-based warehousing company C. Steinweit. The project is set to leverage the opportunities offered by Vietnam's logistics sector and the strategic position of Hải Phòng port. C. Steinweit has decided to invest $25 million in building a 15 hectares warehouse in Hải Phòng. Once completed, the warehouse will provide services such as warehousing and support services related to transport and logistics. At the ceremony, Prime Minister Rudd stated he believed that the project would become a symbol of the cooperation between the two countries and provide major benefits for the port city of Hai Phong.
Since its presence in Vietnam in 1994, the French Agencies for Development has implemented projects contributing to the sustainable development of Vietnam. A press conference to review its 20 years of operation in Vietnam took place on the 17th of June. Let's take a closer look.
Restoring 20-kilometer Duong River dikes in Bắc Ninh, protecting an area of 3,200 hectares, assisting 240,000 people living in the areas prone to flood. This is one of many projects implemented by French Agency for Development, or AFD, in Vietnam. Over the last 20 years, AFD has carried out projects in developing agricultural infrastructure in energy industry, transportation, water supply, and sanitation. Vietnam is one of AFD's main partners with 76 projects funded.
One of the biggest changes that AFD is implementing is directly funding the state-owned enterprises without sovereign financial guarantee from Vietnam. AFD is the only development agency which provides this kind of funding without increasing the external debt of the state.
Projects in climate fields remain one of the main priorities of AFD in Vietnam. From 2006 to 2013, AFD committed 380 million euros for 14 projects and programs to tackle climate change issues. This is half of the 846 million euros committed of AFD for Vietnam during the period.
Combating climate change is our priority. The 21st session of the Conference of the Parties to the United Nations Framework Convention on Climate Change will take place in France at the end of next year. This is a very important conference. We look forward to Vietnam's support in organizing the event, as climate change has been seriously affecting not only France, Vietnam, but the entire world.
For the last 20 years, AFD has committed to fund Vietnam 1.5 billion euros. The agency provided Vietnam a total fund of 146 million euros last year. Despite the difficulties in finance and economy, AFD is still committed to fund of up to 100 million euros to Vietnam.
A project titled Research Capacity Building, Waste Recycling Technology Development and Transfer in Vietnam was launched in Hanoi on Wednesday. This is part of a $1.5 million program funded by the Korea International Cooperation Agencies, or KOICA. The project aims to provide Vietnam with equipment for research and analysis, recycling technology, and electronic waste. Over the next 26 months, the South Korean Institute of Geosciences and Mineral Resources will hold training courses about how to handle e-waste for Vietnamese policymakers and researchers. Now, in other news, a Vietnamese high-quality goods fair opened on Tuesday in the Mekong Delta city of Cần Thơ with 150 local businesses displaying their products. The fair features 450 booths showcasing consumer goods, garments and textile, electrical goods, household utensils, pharmaceuticals, food and chemicals. The fair aims to attract consumer interest in domestic goods while providing enterprises with an opportunity to promote their businesses and expand their markets. The 6-day fair includes a seminar aimed to enhance links between technology and research organizations and enterprises. Game shows and art performances will also take place at the fair. In other news now, the Coastal Corridor Project is one of the flagship programs endorsed by the Greater Mekong Sub-Region, or GMS Summit. In Vietnam, the corridor runs along the southern provinces of Giàn and Cà Mau and will be completed by the end of this year. Thanks to the project, the road network has been developed significantly, facilitating business activities in the area.
The principal mode of transportation for the movement of goods and people in southern Vietnam and within countries in the Greater Mekong Sub-Region is by road. Therefore, completion of the coastal corridor projects will enable more efficient movement of goods and people between regions and provinces.
Local people are very excited by the project. We will be able to travel and transport goods better in between provinces.
New roads provide better transportation between provinces, as we didn't have many connecting roads and bridges before. The coastal corridor will run through the southern provinces of Vietnam and will be constructed according to the national standards for flat roads in delta regions. The whole corridor is 225 kilometers, including 90 kilometers in the most southerly province of Cà Mau.
This project is one of the solutions for transportation in the area. Transportation of goods and people in the area will be upgraded, enabling greater economic and social development, especially for those remote districts in the province.
Another coastal corridor that connects Ho Chi Minh City and Phnom Penh was completed in 2005. The section in Giàn and Cà Mau will be the second completed route that connects Vietnam, Cambodia, and Thailand. Greater economic opportunities will come to the region once this coastal route enters operations.
Despite the bumper crop, farmers in the Mekong River Delta are facing massive losses this year. Rice prices have slumped while purchasing power is weak. Therefore, most locals are waiting for a reintroduction of the temporary stockpile policies to be implemented.
Harvesting rice with impressive yields of up to 7 tons per hectare. But farmers in My Thành Nam Commune, Tiền Giang province have recorded profits of less than $1,000 per hectare. Rice prices have continuously fallen since the middle of May, while rice traders prey on the farmers as they desperately try and find outlets for their harvests.
Before the harvest season, the traders paid about 4,200 Vietnam đồng per kilo. After the harvest, they don't buy rice. They wouldn't buy rice until we dropped our prices by 50 Vietnam đồng per kilo. Meanwhile, the weather has been good, and we don't have places to store the rice, so we don't have no choice but sell our harvest at a lower price in order to invest in the next crop.
Tiền Giang's early summer-autumn rice crop covers more than 39,000 hectares. However, local farmers said that the current price of 4,000 Vietnam đồng per kilo is disastrous. Therefore, they are longing for the authorities to implement the rice procurement and temporary storage policies adopted in previous years.
We hope that the authorities procure the rice before the farmers sell their harvest at a low price. We have to sell rice cheap, as we need money to invest in production.
Temporary stockpiling is said to be the short-term solution to raise rice price. A long-term solution involves plant restructuring.
I believe that the Ministry of Industry and Trade is working with the Ministry of Agriculture and Rural Development to provide guidelines for future production, focusing on higher quality rice. In the long run, there will be only 2 seasons for rice per year to avoid excess supplies. The rest of the time, farmers can focus on other produce to increase their incomes.
In the past few years, rice reserves for export reached 7 million tons, with 3 harvest seasons every year. Reorganization of the sector will not only improve the lives of farmers, but also stabilize the market for future development.
Coming up next on VTV News, overseas Vietnamese journalists bring stories on China's illegal oil rig to audience in the United States. And a single father set up a breast milk bank in Ho Chi Minh City as part of a way to seek milk to feed his child. Stay tuned. VTV News will be right back. Welcome back to VTV News live from Hanoi. Now, it has been 47 days since China illegally deployed a drilling oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. Since then, Vietnam's coast guards and fisheries surveillance have stayed determined and resilient in performing their national missions on the site. Our reporter from the Paracel Islands, Hoàng Linh, has more details.
These ships of the Vietnam's Coast Guard and fisheries surveillance forces resiliently approach the illegal oil rig every day to communicate and convey statements about China's wrongful actions in the area. Chinese ships have outnumbered Vietnamese ships and are well equipped with strong power, speed and modern facilities. However, Vietnam's Coast Guard and fisheries surveillance forces always stay positive and flexible in dealing with tricky situations played by the Chinese ships.
Chinese ships run not only closely to our ships on both sides, but also sometimes right in front of us. As our ships approach them, they will stop immediately, making scenes as the ramping was by our purposes.
The fisheries surveillance ship 628 is one of the very first ships going on the sovereignty mission when China started to deploy the oil rig in Vietnam's waters. Over the past month, the ship was rammed 7 times and hit by water cannons 11 times. Despite those obstacles, Captain Hoàng Văn Lâm remained determined while doing his mission and supporting other members on his ship.
We have to stay alert and flexible in order to deal with the Chinese ships, as they have many tricky situations to attempt crashing and water cannoning our ships. We only defend our rightful actions in accordance with international laws to get our ships out of those situations.
Despite various difficulties, Vietnam's Coast Guards and fisheries resources surveillance as well as fishermen are determined to remain on the site, use peaceful measures to oppose to the illegal placement of the oil rig Hai Giang CO 981 on the exclusive economic zone and continental shelf of Vietnam. Lê Hoàng Linh, Vietnam Television.
Now, international media has been actively reporting China's illegal placement of an oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf over the past month, as well as Chinese aggressions and coercions towards Vietnamese coast guards and fishermen. Many overseas Vietnamese journalists have also come back to Vietnam to cover the incident and bring the latest updates to Vietnamese people living overseas. In the following report, we will meet a reporter from Phố Bào Sa TV who had a chance to go on site and report on China's illegal oil rig.
I'm currently at the Thu River port in Da Nang. We are following Vietnamese fisheries surveillance forces to Paracel Islands, where China has illegally placed the Hai Giang CU 981 oil rig, drawing attention at home and overseas.
That was taken from a report broadcast on Phố Bào Sa TV after the journalists came back to Vietnam to cover the incident of China's illegal placement of an oil rig in Vietnam's exclusive economic zone and continental shelf. While on site, the reporter witnessed over 100 Chinese ships encircling and guarding the illegal activities at the rig, hindering Vietnamese law enforcement forces.
At the
site of the illegal Hai Giang CU 981 oil rig, I got to see Chinese ships moving around the area, and I felt very strange. It was like someone has come into your house and just stands there. You don't like it, and you don't know what to do to make them leave your house.
During his trip to the site, the reporter had a chance to meet in person and interview Vietnamese coast guards and law enforcement officers who are protecting Vietnamese sovereignty. Stories about the efforts of the Vietnamese fishermen who are silently staying out at sea and protecting their fishing grounds were also reported and received a lot of support from the overseas Vietnamese community in America.
This is the first time an overseas Vietnamese journalist has come back to Vietnam to cover an EC incident, so it means a lot for viewers overseas.
After watching the Phố Bào Sa reports, an overseas Vietnamese from Orange County in California decided to establish a fund to call for donations for the Vietnamese coast guards and fishermen. Phố Balsa TV is an online TV channel at phobalsatv.com and can be watched through a smartbox TVs in the United States.
Now, the Ministries of Health is discussing a proposal on promoting healthcare on the country's islands and waters, according to discussions at a recent conference. It is reported that there are about 128,000 ships and more than 700,000 fishermen in the nation, with over half of the fishermen often work far offshore. However, healthcare facilities and equipment are insufficient in coastal provinces and further islands. According to the proposals, more doctors will be brought to coastal areas, and constructions of healthcare facilities and equipment will be the main focus. In addition, research and rescue facilities, especially for storm seasons, will also be upgraded. Amid the Ukraine crisis, the Vietnamese community in Kharkov still remembers Vietnam's sea and islands. The Vietnamese community has organized activities to support the fishermen and law enforcement forces on the EC. The donation campaign in the following report is one of them.
The Ukraine crisis has affected the lives and businesses of over 5,000 Vietnamese living in Kharkov. However, situation in the EC remains their main concern. Vietnamese organizations and enterprises in Barabasova market took part in a fundraising campaign to support Vietnamese fishermen and law enforcement forces in the EC. We often watch the EC updates on VTV4. We disagree with China's provocative acts, so we made a donation to support the fishermen and law enforcement forces at home.
We want to send our love to Vietnam's law enforcement forces in the EC. I want them to remain strong and keep their spirits high. Overseas Vietnamese will always stand by them.
The contribution shows the love of the overseas Vietnamese as well as their wish to contribute to the country's sovereignty protection. The fundraising campaign in Kharkov will last until June 22nd.
An exhibition on Vietnam's sovereignty claims over the Paracel and Spratly archipelagos opened at Thuận An border post last weekend and will run until this Friday. Many maps, books, and official documents are on display at the exhibition, including bronze censers from the early 19th century Minh Mạng dynasty, confirming Vietnam's sovereignty over the islands and waters. In addition, 12 pieces of sovereignty stones are also on display to remind young generations about patriotism and the spirit of solidarity in defending the country's sacred sovereignty. Items on display are collected by several Vietnamese historians and researchers, providing historical evidence of Vietnam's sovereignty over the Paracel and Spratly archipelagos. The Vietnam Musicians Association has released some 80 new songs about the country's sea and islands in a collection titled Dậy sóng Biển Đông, or Waves Rising in EC. Association Chairman Đỗ Hồng Quân said the group singled out the songs from more than 100 entries submitted by musicians from across the country in response to a campaign to write works highlighting the nation's sovereignty over its seas and islands. The first volumes of the series features songs about Vietnam's marine police, fishermen, submarines, naval, and air forces. Ever heard of breast milk bank? In Ho Chi Minh City, a single father has tried to seek milk to feed his child and founded a breast milk bank as well as a breast milk association. Our following report will cover the story of this modern father.
Trinh Quốc Tuấn, a 30-year-old man, has brought up his daughter on his own since she lost her mom at the age of 10 days. He has undergone a lot of hardship over the past 19 months as he has to play the roles of both a father and a mother. The young man has asked many women in the neighborhood for breast milk to feed his daughter.
At first, I was worried that my daughter might catch some illnesses when drinking other women's milk. However, after learning about breast milk, I found out that its benefits outweighed its risks.
Tuấn is a good example for many other fathers to follow. Many men in the modern life have forgotten their roles in parenting.
To show his gratitude to those who have helped him, Tuấn has established a breast milk bank, attracting the participation of nearly 10,000 people. The organization has found an echo in the online community and been connected with the world system of human milk for human babies. He is also the co-founder of Breast Milk Association with over 46,000 members.
Thanks to the Breast Milk Bank, I have received a lot of support from many other mothers and got enough milk to feed my children.
Recently, Tuấn has initiated a program named Baby Me. This mobile app aims to manage babies' first 1,000 days and has won a contest held by United Nations Children's Fund, UNICEF. Tuấn has now shouldered the responsibilities of a mother and made contribution to the society as well.
And now it is time we take a look at our updated weather forecast. And that is all we have for you at this hour. If you would like to rewatch this program, simply log on to our address at vtv4.vn. Thank you very much for tuning in. For now, goodbye from Hanoi.